All right, how's it going? It's Lawrence from the Performance Ranch, and today we're going to be reviewing how to be an athlete. How to be an athlete series is going to be teaching you how to move well and how to do the things you used to do in the past, but now you're going to implement that into your training. Obviously, it's going to start with the first thing, which is a warm-up, which we're going to review right now. But later on, we're going to go into strength training, we're going to go into movement training, we're going to go into conditioning. So we're going to have all four of those things that you need to do in order for you to become a better athlete. So with warming up at the Performance Ranch, we usually have most of our clients start off with some type of myofascial release, meaning foam rolling, soft tissue work, lacrosse ball, lots of different tools that we use. And the reason we do that is we're trying to create a temporary change for their muscular system, their nervous system, and their fascial system, so we can go in and basically improve the way they move. This change, again, is temporary, but the more often you do it, the more consistent you are about doing that soft tissue release, you start to feel your body move a little easier over time. Again, this is not an overnight thing. It's not like you're gonna do the foam roller once and all of a sudden you can get into a full bodyweight squat. That's not gonna be the goal. The goal is to do it several times over the course of weeks, months, years to see this change. After we've gone through our myofascial release, our soft tissue therapy, we start moving right away. We start getting you into these movements that are gonna help you become better. The number one thing we start off with was just some activation. Activation using a mini band. With the mini band, we're looking at putting the band around the knees and creating this pattern of feet about hip width apart and knees about shoulder width apart. So you see them kind of angled out. The reason for that is I'm trying to get my glutes to activate from the very start. And I say that loosely, activate. I mean, once we put pressure on it, you're gonna feel the hips start to work. So we use that term, activate, even though those muscles are kind of always there. We're gonna dig our feet through the ground and we're gonna work on breathing. So we're gonna take a deep breath in. As we breathe out, we're gonna start to add that motion to it. So again, I'm gonna breathe in through the nose, and I'm gonna breathe out through the mouth. I'm gonna drive my hips straight to the ceiling, engaging the glutes. I'm gonna breathe in, going down, breathe out, going up. So we'll do about 10 reps of that. The next thing we do, we move the band to our feet. And the reason for that is we're gonna work on some activation of extension with the leg, meaning the leg's gonna be straight, and we're also gonna work on hip flexion with the opposite leg. So just like running, just like walking, again, still continue that breathing pattern. So I'm gonna breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth, and drive my knee up. Again, breathe in. And you notice as I do this, I'm not letting my hips move. My hips are staying nice and squared, and I'm getting to this nice knee drive position. And this is the foundation of everything we do, from running, walking, hiking, jumping. Everything drives from this one leg being straight, the other one driving up. Again, we'll do about 5 each side, and then we're gonna switch sides. Again, as I breathe out, I'm keeping my leg extended, and I'm gonna flex the other leg. I'm feeling this in the glute, feeling this in the core, and I'm feeling this in the hip flexor. So all the major muscles that need to get prepped before we start moving fast. All right, get one more rep in. Right, the next thing we're gonna do here, after we master that position, we're gonna get into a knee bent position. So 90 degrees at the knees, 90 degrees at the hips, same focus, breathe out, press out. Breathe in. This breath pattern is all based on when I'm exerting force. When I exert force, I breathe out. Okay, I'm gonna switch it up. Again, I'm feeling this core, feeling my hip flexors. As I'm out here, this leg is having to stay very controlled. Lots of hip activation going on here. One more round, and then up. Good. Then, we get up to our feet right away. We're gonna start moving around. I'm gonna take this mini band. We take the mini band, put it right around the knees. We're gonna start with our feet about hip width apart. Knees are pressed out a little bit so I get my hips engaged here. I'm just gonna work on some movement, just some lateral walks. As I do these walks, I'm trying to keep my knee in line with my toes, and I'm trying to drive my knee and my hip to create this pattern. I'll do about 10 reps each side. Again, just for the video, I'm gonna go a little bit less. Good, I'm gonna drive forward now, same thing. I'm going forward, and I'll go more at you so you can see. Okay, creating this pattern for the hips, and then I'm gonna move, same thing, going backwards. So I'm getting my hips to work, making sure my feet stay in line with my toes. Sorry, my knees stay in line with my toes. And there we go. Then the last thing we're gonna do here, so we really work on that pattern of just good depth, we're gonna work on squatting here. So I'm just gonna squat down, come right back up. It's a natural body weight squat. Again, I'm doing this kind of cold. I haven't done my soft tissue release yet today, but I feel pretty good. Moving around. Let's get this squat pattern down. All right. So once we get into that little prep there, and that's some good little activation, get the blood flowing a little bit, get the heart beating, break a little sweat. Now I'm gonna start moving into a dynamic warm up, okay? This is gonna be all on the floor here. So the first exercise we're gonna do here after the mini band work is gonna be what's called a world's greatest stretch. We're trying to work on the hip flexor, we're trying to work on thoracic spine, we're trying to work on the shoulders. A lot of stuff is gonna happen in this movement here. So first thing I do, I'm gonna grab my knee, pull up towards my chest. But as I do this, you notice this pattern is exactly what we just did with the mini band, right? So that knee drive. One leg's extended, the other one's flexed. I take a big step forward. I'm gonna get down to my hands here on the inside. I'm trying to get my back leg straight, so I'm trying to stretch out my hip flexor as well. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna open my shoulders and my thoracic spine up to the sky. I'm gonna come back down and straddle my foot. I'm gonna lean back, stretch out my hamstring. I'm gonna go move my knee forward so it's underneath my hip here. I'm gonna drive my hips forward so I get my glute to fire, get my hip flexor stretched out. I'm gonna add a little arm reach here so I get some thoracic extension. I'm gonna get a little lean across, so now I'm stretching out QL, lat, hip flexor, all that stuff. And then I'm just gonna put all my weight on my front leg, drive up to the same thing on the opposite side. So again, looking at that knee drive, stepping forward, down. I'm gonna press into my right hand, open my shoulders, breathe out, open up. Generally, we do this about 2-3 times on each side. Just depends on how you're feeling. Just for time's sake, I'm gonna do 2. So you notice I transition as I do this. I'm actually moving forward, but if you are tight on space, and you don't have anywhere to really move to, you can just come up and just switch sides, do the same thing going backwards. So I'm basically staying completely in place, not having to move. Getting my hips to tuck, fire up, reach over the head, get a little lean, standing up tall, and done. So a couple versions, right? You can move forward, you can also stay in place. This is pretty easy. The next one we're gonna do here is an inchworm. I'm just gonna go back since I have the turf here. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna go down, reaching out, touch my toes. I'm just gonna walk my hands forward, keeping my legs as straight as I can, keeping my body as straight as I can. So again, this is not only a hamstring shoulder warm up, but also the core. I'm gonna go down to a push up. I'm gonna keep my hips on the ground. I'm gonna push my chest up. So I get a nice thoracic stretch here, get my abs to stretch out. I'm gonna go back down. I'm gonna do a push up. Keeping my body straight and locked out. Keeping my legs straight, I'm gonna walk my toes in towards my hands as far as I can. Once I can't go anymore, I stand up, I reset, get some thoracic extension, go right back down. All right, and for time's sake, we're only gonna do 3 of these, but anywhere between 3 and 5 is good. Next thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna do a lunge series, okay? A little lunge circuit. We're gonna start off with just alternating forward lunges. So I'm gonna be right in place here. I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna step forward into a lunge, dropping down towards the ground, weights in this front leg. I'm gonna pop right back up. I'm gonna switch, pop right back up. Okay, there's a couple ways you can do this. Straight ahead is perfect, but if you wanna start to add some motion after you know your balance is good, you can start to add some rotation to this. Notice I'm actually taking my right arm across my body here, so I'm stretching all this stuff on the side here, hip flexor, lats, QL, lots of muscles involved in these patterns. So 2 more. Again, we generally do anywhere from 3 to 5 reps per side. Now we're gonna do a lateral lunge. Dropping down into a lunge and back. As I step, what I teach my clients is I keep my toe in line with my heel. Makes it easier because a lot of times people want to step behind them and they end up like this. I want to take a nice step out here, load up my hip and my glute, drop into the lunge, come right back. And down, drop into the lunge, right back. If you're having trouble keeping your posture straight, your back nice and flat, again, not up and down, you know, as I'm coming, I'm actually leaning forward a little bit. But if you feel yourself collapsing, put something in your hands. Grab a little medicine ball, show you real quick. Nothing heavy, this is only 6 pounds. I'm gonna step out, push the ball in front of me. So it's a nice counterbalance for this pattern. You actually feel your hips drop in a little deeper. Get to a nice lunge there. All right, next thing we're gonna do here is called a rotational lunge. So I'm gonna take a step back behind me. The goal of this though, is we step back, we don't wanna cross over the line, okay? This is, a lot of times I see some of our clients when they first start is they end up doing this. That's not the pattern we're looking for. We're looking for a nice big step. We're looking for the hip to get loaded up and dropping into this lunge. And again, I'm sinking, and I'm using a counterbalance. I'm dropping into this lunge. The way I kind of teach clients, because I know people have trouble with this, is I just grab a little towel and look, there's gonna be a line that's gonna be even with your feet going straight back. Don't step over that line. So step out, make an L shape with your feet, come right together, other side. Same thing, back and forth. Again, just do about 3 reps each side, 3 to 5. Last one, dropping down. So now, again, dynamic movement, right? Done the world's greatest, we've done the inchworm, it's a little lunge series. Next what we're gonna do here is a single leg deadlift. And I'm gonna take it back even a notch. We're gonna do a split stance deadlift first. So, knowing that you've mastered your hinge, again, if you haven't, check out our Master Your Hinge video. This goes over all the ways to get your hinge well. But our goal here is just to keep our back nice and flat, move our hips back. Notice I'm keeping the line, most of my weight staying my lead leg. I'm gonna stand up tall. So this is a split stance lunge. Split stance deadlift here. Got my heel in line with my toe, about shoulder width apart. Now I'm just driving my hips back. So I'm loading up my lead leg here. I'm feeling the stretch of my left hamstring, my glute. I'm bringing my hips forward, so I'm getting full extension on the top. Down and up. I'll switch sides, do it again, this side, and up. Again, you can put the hands in front, hands aside of you, however you want, whatever works best. But again, the goal is to keep the load in this lead leg. This is one I do before I ride my bike a lot, because when you're on your bike, this is that position you're in a lot, right? This hinge position, this split stance position. So most sports are played in a split stance. So we want to make sure you understand how to get to the split stance with ease, okay? Without any things caught up there. The next step after that, we're gonna go into a single leg to deadlift. Once you know you have good balance, if you don't, use something to help you, I'll show you. I'm gonna keep my knee soft, my back leg is straight. I'm driving out, keeping everything nice and flat. I'm even gonna use this hip flexor position. Again, this goes right back to our warm up with the mini band, right? The same position every time. Back down and up. This is an imperative position because this is running, this is hiking, this is taking a big step. It all happens here. If you can't keep your back nice and flat, check out our other video, we've gone over this. Put a band from your foot to your shoulder here, and we keep that leg nice and straight so you can create that resistance that you need, that tension that you need to hold that position. But that's a little movement series. You notice we took you into all planes of motion there. We did the sagittal plane, which is straight ahead, frontal plane, which is moving side to side, and transverse plane, which is that rotational pattern. So that's just like the basic dynamic warm-up. Now, we're gonna go into some movement prep.